Hey there, guys. How's it going? So, yeah, I've been following pretty closely this whole Sergey Kovalev, Anthony Yarde situation. As you guys probably already know, a purse bid has been called for April 8th for this Sergey Kovalev mandatory challenge against Anthony Yarde. Anthony Yarde, due to his due to his affiliation with his promoter Frank Warren, has managed to get himself a mandatory position with the WBO, despite facing nothing but a bunch of tomato cans his whole career. It's pretty ridiculous, but that's boxing. There are plenty of contenders out there in the division who have done way more than this guy and have you know, amassed a much better resume than he has and still haven't gotten themselves into a mandatory position yet. But whatever, that's boxing. It is what it is. But what I wanted to talk about, man, and it's just situations like this are what really annoy me about boxing. And not only that, but situations like this tend to expose a lot of double standards, and they tend to provoke a particular response from a lot of people in the boxing fraternity. And not only that, but a lot of fans, particularly a lot of casual fans, that always gets on my nerves, man, really grinds my gears. What I'm talking about is when you come out, like a YouTuber like myself or somebody who covers boxing online independently, when you criticize this type of behavior in boxing from people in the boxing fraternity, you always get some cunt, you always get some annoying, whiny ass little casual who comes along and says, you know what type of fan that I'm talking about. They come out with comments like, "Who are you to criticize a boxer?" Like, "Who are you to criticize a trainer? Who have you beaten? What have you done? You're just a YouTuber talking online." And that's the type of response I'm expecting to get for this video from at least one or two people. You always get them. You always get some mouthy little cunt. But whatever. This is what I'm talking about. This type of behavior from certain people in the boxing fraternity that really annoys me. Anthony Yarde, and more importantly, Anthony Yarde's trainer Tunde Ajayi. I really don't even know what to say. So a few days ago, when it was announced that there was going to be a purse bid, and before Sergey Kovalev and his promoter and his team had even said anything, you had this absolute clown, Tunde Ajayi, this absolute cunt, coming out and saying that he had the audacity to say that Anthony Yarde is the A side over Sergey Kovalev. And if Sergey Kovalev wants the fight, think about that. If Sergey Kovalev wants to fight Anthony Yarde, they have to do it on their terms, and it has to be in some shitty leisure centre in the UK. I mean, so let's examine those claims for a moment, shall we? So you've got Sergey Kovalev. This is a guy that commands respect. Okay, this is a guy who Sergey Kovalev has been on pay-per-view twice. Okay, Sergey Kovalev has won world titles internationally. Okay, he won his world title in the UK against an undefeated Nathan Cleverly on a Frank Warren card. Let's not forget that. He unified the division in America against a legend, Bernard Hopkins, in a big fight. Um, Defended his title twice in Canada against Jean Pascal. He's boxed in Canada several times here and there. He defended his title in Russia. Had two big fights with Andre Ward, two pay-per-view fights where he came up short. He lost and regained his title with Elidia Alvarez. So this is a guy that commands respect. This is a guy that's been on the pound for pound list before. This is a guy that's been a unified champion. This is a guy that's been on pay-per-view more than once. This is a guy that's been in big unification fights. This is a guy with international world level experience. But this guy, Anthony Yarde, this little bitch from the UK with about 17 pro fights against cab drivers and bin men, whose best victories on his resume were washed up, shot to shit Euro level guys like Tony Avalon, who took him 7 rounds to beat. This is the same Tony Avalon who some years back in his prime got sparked in 2 rounds by Jürgen Bremer. His other noteworthy victory was, again, a completely washed up, shot to pieces Nikolai Shalaka, who had been found out at world level several times and was really just there for a payday to make Anthony Yarde look good. And this is a guy in Anthony Yarde who struggles to sell the fucking York Hall, Bethnal Green. He can't even sell that venue out himself. But this guy's the A side. This guy is the A side over Sergey Kovalev. And if Sergey Kovalev wants to fight this guy, if Sergey Kovalev is so desperate to get Anthony Yarde on his resume, he has to capitulate and he has to do what these guys say. They get the majority of the money and they get the hometown advantage. I really want to hear what Frank Warren has to say about this. I really do, because whenever I've seen Frank Warren do interviews about Anthony Yarde, man, it's almost as if Frank Warren is sick and tired of the guy. It really is. Like, when people ask him about Anthony Yarde's career, Frank Warren always gets paranoid and angry. He's like, oh, this again. Like, seriously, go and watch any interview with Frank Warren where he's talking about Anthony Yarde. It's almost as if he doesn't even want to talk about the guy. It almost is. I really do think that there's friction between that relationship, because Frank is bringing Anthony Yarde along so slowly and is giving him such shit opposition, and he knows it, because Tunde Ajayi, won't let Anthony Yarde face anybody serious. I mean, do you guys really think that he's going to fight Sergey Kovalev in his next fight? This is a guy, just bear this in mind, this is a guy, Anthony Yarde, who won't even fight Hosea Burton. Hosea Burton is too dangerous a fight for Anthony Yarde. All right, he ducked the shit out of Hosea Burton. This is a guy that won't even fight Frank Buglioni. This is a guy that won't even fight Joshua Buatsi, a fucking novice in the sport, a guy who's done nothing yet. Anthony Yarde, he was too dangerous for Anthony Yarde. This is the type of fighter Anthony Yarde is. This is the level he's at. The guy's done nothing. He's fought cab drivers and bin men his whole career. But he's going to fight Sergey Kovalev next. Get real, okay? Anthony Yarde is full of shit. His trainer's full of shit. His fanboys are full of shit. There are some guys I've seen making comments saying that it was a smart business move from Tunde Ajayi. A couple of little dick riding fanboys who would support this pathetic behaviour, absolute pathetic behaviour from a boxer and his trainer. Anthony Yarde needs to shut his mouth and fight Sergey Kovalev wherever the fuck Sergey Kovalev and his people want it. Because let's be real, Frank Warren is not going to put up the money to win a purse bid for Anthony Yarde, and if he does, I'll be shocked. Okay, I'll be shocked if Frank Warren puts up the money to get this fight in the UK. If he does, then I'll take it back. Then I was wrong about Frank Warren. He really does believe in Anthony Yarde. But do you really think Frank Warren believes in Anthony Yarde? Just go and listen to any interview that Frank Warren talks about Anthony Yarde. He knows that Anthony Yarde ain't shit, and that Anthony Yarde needs more experience because he's fought a bunch of bums. So he's not going to risk putting him in with Sergey Kovalev. That's not going to happen. That'll ruin Anthony Yarde if he takes Sergey Kovalev in his next fight. And just stop with the disrespect, man. That's all I'm saying. These people in the boxing fraternity need to know who they're speaking to. They really do need to learn to respect those who have done more than you and have achieved more than you. I know that Kathy Duva's talking about the fight maybe being in Russia. And Anthony Yarde's response was, this little illiterate prick, who thinks that he can call the shots. He's like, nah, we ain't go Russia. We ain't go Russia, nah. Yeah, learn to speak English, first of all. It's funny that Sergey Kovalev, who's Russian, speaks better English than this punk, man. It really is funny. But yeah, this just goes to show you the behaviour of certain people in the boxing fraternity, as far as I'm concerned, is hypocritical and disgusting, and it needs to be called out. It really does. People like Anthony Yarde are bad for boxing. They really are. These exploitative, self-entitled divas who haven't done shit in their career and want to disrespect a great fighter like Sergey Kovalev, who took the hard road and won world titles on the road and whatnot. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this. This is just my thoughts on this issue. I think that Anthony Yarde is slowly becoming a laughingstock of British boxing, and it's pretty funny to watch. And yeah, Sergey Kovalev, as far as I'm concerned, he should fight in Russia for his next fight against somebody more worthy of a title shot. Fuck Anthony Yarde. Let Kovalev fight somebody better. So let me know what you guys think. Anyway, and thanks for watching. God bless.